Welcome to Movie Recapped. Today we will recap the 2016 movie, The Edge of 17. Let's dive in. Film, The Edge of 17, we meet Nadine Franklin, portrayed by Hailee Steinfeld, a 17-year-old navigating the challenging world of high school with her own unique blend of awkwardness and sincerity. In a particularly intense moment, she rushes into the classroom of her teacher, Mr. Bruner, played by Woody Harrelson. Visibly upset, Nadine confesses to Bruner that she's contemplating suicide and desperately seeks someone who will truly listen to her plight. In a classic Bruner style, marked by his dry wit, he responds with a sarcastic remark about writing his own suicide note, longing for just a bit of tranquility during his lunch break. This exchange poignantly highlights the complexity of their student-teacher relationship and the film's delicate balance of humor and serious themes. Nadine Franklin takes us back to the roots of her story when she was just 7 years old, a role brought to life by Lena Rinna. She vividly recalls the stark contrast in popularity between herself and her older brother Darian, played by Christian Michael Cooper. This disparity seemed so pronounced that even their mother Mona, portrayed by Kyra Sedgwick, appeared to show a preference for Darian over Nadine. Amidst this dynamic, Nadine's father, Tom, played by Eric Kienle-Side, stood as her pillar of strength and comfort. At school, Nadine faces the harshness of bullying from some mean girls, amplifying her sense of isolation. However, her world brightens when she meets Krista, depicted by Ava Grace Cooper. Their friendship blossoms in a heartwarming moment where Krista, caring for a pet caterpillar, offers Nadine the chance to be its co-guardian. Tragically, Nadine's inexperience leads to the caterpillar's accidental demise in her pencil case. Despite this mishap, their bond strengthens rapidly, with Nadine always being there for Krista, especially during times of trouble at Krista's home. This chapter in Nadine's life marks the beginning of an unbreakable friendship, offering her a much-needed companion in her otherwise turbulent world. Nadine narrates a pivotal turn in her life at the age of 13, describing it as a period where things took a particularly challenging turn. It was during these formative years that she began to grapple with deep insecurities about her appearance, feelings intensified by the stark contrast she saw in her brother Darian, now portrayed by Blake Jenner, who seemed to only grow more handsome with time. Amidst this turmoil, her steadfast friend Krista, brought to life by Haley Lou Richardson, does her best to comfort Nadine, reassuring her about her looks and trying to boost her self-esteem. This phase in Nadine's life is marked by inner conflicts and the complexities of growing up, underscored by the unwavering support of a true friend. While getting burgers with her dad, Tom suffers a fatal heart attack and crashes his car. His death devastated the family. In the present at age 17, Nadine is at school with Krista when she spots Nick Mossman, Alexander Calvert, a bad boy fresh out of juvenile hall reform school. She becomes sexually attracted to him. In Mr. Bruner's class, Nadine meets Erwin Kim, Hayden Sito, an equally awkward but friendly boy that has a crush on her. When the girls go back to Nadine's house, they learn that Mona is leaving for the night to see a man she met online. During their night of freedom at Nadine's house, she and Krista dive into a carefree spree, drinking and playfully messing around. As the evening progresses, Darian, Nadine's brother, also joins the mix, inviting some friends over for a casual swimming session. Amidst the fun, Nadine overindulges, leading to an unfortunate moment where she becomes sick, vomiting in the toilet. In this vulnerable state, Krista steps in as the caring friend, staying by Nadine's side to help her. As Nadine grapples with her discomfort, she resorts to making self-deprecating remarks, a glimpse into her inner struggles, before eventually succumbing to exhaustion and passing out on the floor. Meanwhile, a different scene unfolds downstairs. Krista encounters Darian in the midst of a mundane task, cleaning dog pee off the carpet. This unexpected meeting leads to an exchange of small talk, marking the beginning of a new interaction between the two, away from the earlier chaos of the evening. The morning after their eventful night, Nadine groggily awakens, the aftermath of the previous evening's indulgence manifesting as a hangover. Struggling to her feet, she emerges from the bathroom and is immediately struck by the sound of giggling emanating from Darian's room. Filled with a sense of dread, she cautiously investigates, only to be confronted with a shocking scene. Darian and Krista are in bed together, engaged in an intimate moment. The sudden intrusion leaves all three of them in a state of shock and embarrassment, but Nadine's distress is particularly acute as she grapples with the startling revelation involving her brother and her best friend. Later in the day, Nadine's ongoing frustration with Krista is evident. Despite their tension, Nadine decides to join Krista and Darian at a party. There, Krista drifts away to play beer pong with other guests, leaving Nadine feeling isolated. While outside, Nadine encounters a tipsy partygoer who humorously compares her and Darian to the iconic duo from the movie Twins. Feeling out of place, Nadine calls her mother Mona for a ride home. During the car ride, Mona reveals a personal upset. She found out that the man she was communicating with online is actually married after receiving an unexpected email from his wife. Nadine reaches out to Erwin, suggesting they spend some time together. They decide to visit a carnival where they enjoy a ride on the Ferris wheel. Amidst the fun, Erwin attempts to kiss Nadine, but his timing isn't right and she doesn't reciprocate. Later, in an awkward turn of events, Nadine jokingly likens Erwin to a kind elderly gentleman, adding to the embarrassment of the moment. On Monday, when Krista tries to talk to Nadine, lingering tension from the party remains. Nadine is upset that Krista spent time with other girls at the event. The situation escalates when Krista shares that Darian has asked her to be his girlfriend and to accompany him to prom. In response, Nadine presents a difficult choice to Krista. It's either her friendship or Darian. Krista, unwilling to make such a choice, stands her ground. Nadine, in an attempt to sway Krista, caustically remarks that Darian will eventually leave her for someone else. This confrontation leads to Krista walking away from Nadine. After returning home, Nadine finds herself in a heated argument with Darian regarding his recent relationship decision. Mona attempts to mediate, but Nadine, needing space, decides to step out for a walk. She grabs a slushie along the way, then heads to Petland, where Nick is working. Upon entering, she tries to strike up a conversation with Nick, but her approach comes across as somewhat awkward. Nadine attempts to engage Mr. Brunner in conversation about her troubles, but he appears disinterested. His offhand remark suggesting that she isn't well-liked provokes Nadine, leading her to lash out with insults about him and his teaching career. Despite this, Mr. Brunner remains composed. In a gesture of peace, he offers her half of his cookie, gently telling her she's his favorite student in an effort to soothe her agitation. Nadine reaches out to Erwin once more, inquiring if she could come over to swim in his pool. Erwin, thrilled by the request, eagerly agrees. Upon arriving, Nadine is taken aback to discover that Erwin's family is affluent. Nadine jokingly asks Erwin if he wants to have sex, which upsets him. Later on, Erwin shares with her some of his drawings and discusses his project that he's preparing for an upcoming student film festival. Since Nadine is no longer speaking to Krista, Mona has started driving her to school. However, Nadine is uncomfortable being dropped off near Krista, leading Mona to bring Nadine along to her workplace instead. At Mona's job, Nadine quickly becomes restless and begins to misbehave. Frustrated, Mona remarks that Nadine's father would be disappointed in her behavior. In response, Nadine impulsively takes Mona's car keys and departs. While on a date with Krista, Darian receives a call from Mona. Concerned, he hurries back home and finds Mona in the midst of gathering Nadine's clothes from the floor, declaring her intention to donate them. Darian steps in, attempting to defuse the situation and calm Mona down. Nadine visits a playground, where she impulsively begins composing a lengthy, inappropriate message to Nick, expressing her sexual desires. In her attempt to delete this message, she accidentally sends it instead. Panicked by her mistake, Nadine rushes to seek help from Mr. Brunner, the scene mirroring the opening of the movie. Despite her pleas for assistance in rectifying the situation, Mr. Brunner's response is unexpectedly nonchalant. He simply hands her money to buy a frozen yogurt. After getting her yogurt, Nadine checks her phone and finds several upset voicemails from her mom. Amidst this, she receives a message from Nick, who, having gotten her number from the post, invites her to hang out. Thrilled by the invitation, Nadine hurries back home to get ready, aiming to finish before Mona returns home in a cab. Nadine's date with Nick turns out to be a simple rendezvous in an empty parking lot. As they begin to kiss, Nick becomes too forward for Nadine's comfort. Realizing her discomfort, Nadine asks him to stop, expressing her desire to actually get to know him better. However, Nick shows little interest in this. Fearful that he might leave, Nadine initiates a kiss again, but she quickly pulls away when he attempts to escalate things. Feeling overwhelmed and upset, Nadine exits the car and breaks down in tears. After her distressing experience, Nadine is picked up by Mr. Brunner, who takes her to his house. There, she meets his wife and infant son. Unexpectedly, Darian and Krista arrive at Mr. Brunner's house to take Nadine back, but she staunchly refuses to leave with them. This leads to a confrontation between Darian and Nadine, where Darian expresses frustration with Nadine's behavior. Nadine accuses him of being self-centered and only wanting to appear heroic to their mother by ensuring her safe return. Darian counters, revealing the pressures he faces as the de facto man of the house, his restricted college choices due to family obligations, and the strain on his relationship with Krista caused by his loyalty to Nadine. Unable to resolve the tension, Darian departs, leaving Nadine behind. Mr. Brunner then steps in to take Nadine back home. Nadine makes her way to Darian's room, where she offers an apology for her recent actions. Overcome with emotion, she tearfully confides in him about her deep-seated dislike of her own behavior and character, and her fear that she might never be able to change. In response to her heartfelt expression, Darian offers her a comforting hug. The following morning, Nadine rises early to attend Irwin's film festival. As she heads out, she finds Darian and Krista in the kitchen, just about to have breakfast. Darian greets her warmly, wishing her a good day, and Nadine returns the sentiment. Krista, seizing the moment, asks Nadine if it would be alright to call her later. Nadine, in a gesture of reconciliation, agrees to the call. At the film festival, Irwin's film is a highlight. It tells the story of an alien who falls for a girl who doesn't reciprocate his feelings. A dramatic twist occurs when a giant monster abducts the girl, prompting the alien to heroically rescue her by crushing the monster with a huge rock. However, in a surprising turn, when the girl finally shows interest in the alien, he has already moved on, surrounded by other beautiful alien women. Post-screening, Nadine approaches Irwin with flowers. She mentions her belief that the film is a metaphor for their relationship, but Owen initially denies it. This leaves Nadine feeling self-conscious, worried she appears egocentric. Irwin quickly reassures her, revealing he was just teasing, and then warmly invites her to meet his friends.